Midway, one of the most influential arcade game publishers, so one of the fastest surge of popularity and one of the fastest downfalls. They were known mainly for releasing Pac-Man and Space Invaders alongside Mortal Kombat. But were they the best game company of the 80s? Midway Manufacturing, formed by Henry Ross and Marcin Wolverton, was founded in 1958 and developed mechanical arcade games until 1969, when it was purchased by Bally, who was famous for slot machines and gambling products. In 1973, they got an early start in the arcade video game industry, and in the 70s, they had a tight relationship with Taito Corporation. Eventually, Midway saw their success when they distributed Space Invaders made by Taito in 1978, and later in 1980, they distributed Pac-Man by Namco, and they even developed the sequel, Miss Pac-Man, in 1981. To no surprise, Midway from the late 70s to the late 80s was the leader in arcade video games until Bally sold Midway to William Electronics Games, also known as WMS, in 1988. During the time between 1988 and 1996, nothing really interesting happened with Midway, until 1996 when WMS purchased Time Warner Interactive, who owned Atari Games. What also happened in 1996 was Midway changing their name from Midway Manufacturing to Midway Games, and WMS making an offering of stock in Midway. In 1998, WMS had sold off the rest of their Midway stock. Midway at the time still had some common executives as WMS and slowly fired them until there was one left. In 1999, Midway left the pinball industry to focus on video games. They had also changed Atari Games to Midway Games as to not fuse with Atari Corporation. But tough times were about to approach. 2000 started the decline of profits. The company was losing money left and right, causing later the 2001 close of the Midway Arcade division and the 2003 close of Midway Games West. What also happened was in 2003 the reported losses of $115 million with sales of $93 million. By 2004, they had wanted to expand their market share into companies they had purchased from many independent companies, including Surreal Software, Inevitable Entertainment, and Paradox Development. The next year, they had bought Rat Bay Games, but had closed that company not even 6 months later. By 2006 and 2007, they were getting hundreds and millions of dollars in profits lost. What also had happened in 2007 was a legal battle over the game Psyops, which Mindshadow claimed that they had stole the idea from a screenplay they owned. However, no copyright was found and the judges ruled towards Midway. They also in 2007 entered a $90 million credit agreement. In late 2007, the CEO of Midway, David Zucker, stated that the introduction of Unreal Tournament 3 and the company's growing success set up Midway for a significant 2008. David Zucker then retired in early mid-2008. Zucker's predecessor, Matt Booty, took over. Midway had closed their Los Angeles and Austin, Texas studios in the summer of 2008, and 80% of the company's stock was sold to Mark Thomas for $100,000. But Mark Thomas also had to pay the $70 million debt. By the end of 2008, Midway's debt was reaching $240 million, and the next year they had sold many assets, including Mortal Kombat, their Chicago and Seattle studios, to Warner Bros. They had sold the San Diego studio to THQ in 2009 for $740,000. After that, in October of 2009, Midway had sold the rest of their assets to South Peak Games for around $100,000. And that was the last time Midway was ever seen. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you enjoyed my content, why not subscribe? I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.